My name is Brian Cromwell. I'm a partner here in the Charlotte office at Parker Poe. I'm also on the Parker Poe Board of Directors. I grew up in a small town north of Charlotte. You may have heard of it, New York City. I was born in the Bronx. My father came here from Trinidad. He immigrated from Trinidad with a pregnant wife and the shirt on his back, and he became a very successful businessman. He worked very hard to do that. He's one of those guys that when you meet him, you want him to be your best friend. He's very gregarious. He's outgoing. He's a lot of fun to be around, and I got that aspect of my personality when I meet people, and I love being that kind of person. But on the flip side, my mother's very serious, very focused. She is one of those kinds of people that you know is going to get stuff done. And she brooks no nonsense from people. And that's the aspect that you will see in the courtroom for me. People have told me that my cross-examination can be unpleasant. I get that from my mother. So one of the areas that my parents saw eye to eye is that we are blessed. The Cromwells are blessed. And so we have to give back to the community. It would be an insult not to do so. So I've tried to give back to the community whenever I've had an opportunity to, and I've been blessed to have those kinds of opportunities. I've been able to be the board chair of United Family Services, which is now Safe Alliance, which is the parent company of the Shelter for Battered Women here in Charlotte. I've also been able to become the board chair of Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. I've also been able to become the board chair of the Blumenthal. I'm also on the IDS Commission, the Indigent Defense Services Commission. So all of those have come together to allow me to give back to the community. And that's part of the reason why I came to Parker Poe, and the reason I stay is because Parker Poe's culture is designed around giving back to the community and making sure that while we're good lawyers and good people, that we're also good givers. So I graduated undergrad with a degree in finance, and I knew I was going to be some kind of banker. And so I left undergrad, started working at banks, then I had an opportunity to become a financial analyst at HBO. That experience has been very key in helping me understand my business clients, because corporate America is very different than law firm life. And the way they focus, there might be cost-benefit analysis in the business context that don't translate the same as the legal analysis. So living that life allows me to interact with my clients pretty seamlessly. So I was a state prosecutor and a federal prosecutor, both here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I learned how to build a case against someone who would eventually become a defendant. I began figuring out how to investigate. I knew what levers to pull to try and build the case so I can eventually prepare an indictment and charge them with the crime. Now that I'm on the defense side, I understand how to deconstruct that case. I know where the weaknesses are. I know how to attack in instances where there needs to be an attack. I also can understand how strong a case is, and I can counsel clients on the strengths of a prosecutor's case. So my practice is broken into 4 categories, and the pie isn't equally balanced, but I do civil litigation. I also do traditional criminal litigation, think white collar fraud, tax fraud, Ponzi schemes, that kind of defense. I also do regulatory defense, so think FINRA, OCC, SEC, and then, of course, I do internal investigations. If a corporate entity has an issue, for example, whistleblower calls, and they have to get somebody to read the documents, they need to find someone to interview witnesses, I can do internal investigations. You'll hear me say this often. My associates hear me say this often. Clear, concise, proactive and honest communications would solve 99% of the world's problems. When I meet with clients, I try to be very honest up front. I try and be as clear and as concise as possible. Sometimes my clients don't want to hear what I'm going to say. There are some lawyers who will give them the answers they want to hear. I'm never going to give a client the answer they want to hear. I'm going to give them the truth, and I'm going to give them what they need to make the right decisions going forward. One of my favorite movies is a mid-90s movie called Pulp Fiction. And there's a scene in that movie where Samuel L. Jackson has gotten into some pretty bad trouble. And he reaches out to Ving Rhames, who's his boss, and he says, "Hey man, I have all these problems." And Ving Rhames says, "Chill out, man. We're gonna call the wolf." I want to be the wolf for my clients. When they're in trouble, I want to be that guy who, no matter what, will get them out of trouble or figure out a way to soften the blow. That's my job.